quality air, and that lets you save. Look here.
True Form Life.
Green look on it.
Welcome to Exploring Mind and Body with Drew Tadia. Drew is an expert in nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and more. And he wants to help you live a healthier, longer, and more active life. Now here's your host, Drew Tadia.
All right, welcome to another edition of nationally syndicated Exploring Mind and Body. As always, I'm your host, Drew Tadia. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of our True Form Life community. Now, today we're bringing on Tammy Wise, who has done a lot of different things in the field of health, and now she's more directed towards holistic, natural types of learning. She was actually a dancer on Broadway, which I think is super cool because I love New York City. Tammy's also a Taoist minister, and she's running a company by the name of BodyLogos. She's a widely respected fitness expert and practitioner of holistic healing, and as a Taoist minister, she's the founder and creator of BodyLogos Inc., mind, body, fitness, wellness, and beauty company. Now, Tammy has a slightly different approach as she talks about overall wellness. I really like the angle she's coming at, though. She just talks about how it's a much different type of wellness and holistic healing as opposed to the conventional clanging around weights or high-intensity workouts. So Tammy's going to tell you about her perspective on how she can reach her clients on different levels and how you can learn more about it as well. So sit back and enjoy. We get all that coming up.
This is Exploring Mind and Body. Naturally improve your lifestyle one show at a time with your host, Drew Tadia.
All right, welcome to another edition of Exploring Mind and Body. You heard all about Tammy Wise in the introduction, so without further ado, welcome to the show, Tammy.
Thank you very much, Drew. Nice to be here.
It's our pleasure. Now, today we have a number of things that we're going to be talking about. I'm interested in Taoism. Is that how you say it?
Tao. It's pronounced like D-A-O.
Oh, I never knew that.
Spelled T-A-O, so Tao.
Tao. Wow. Okay, well, I'm excited and interested to hear about Tao. As our listeners know, this is a holistic type of show, so we talk about different types of holistic wellness, and I think that you'll have a lot to share with our audience here. Tammy, tell me about your background and how you got into what you're doing.
Well, I moved to New York right after high school and started performing on the Broadway stage at the age of 19 as a dancer, and spent many years, 30 years as a dancer. And as I was, aging as an athlete, my interest started to direct itself towards energy and how we can maintain our energy most efficiently and not be reckless with our energy and not overwork. And living in New York City, you see overworking happening everywhere. So I went to seminary to become a Tao minister. I was introduced to it when going to some nutrition courses, thinking that was the direction towards energy. And I learned about herbs, which were in the nutritional venue, a way of getting high energy, low bulk, so your body didn't have to work too hard for it. So that led me in the direction of Tao. But once I got there, everything that they taught about Tao principles, which the theory of yin and yang, which most people know about, the 5-element theory, also many people know about, all come from Tao. Tai Chi, Qi Kong, these are Tao practices. So the more I got involved with the principles of Tao, the more I realized how much alignment has to do with energy. And I realized that our skeleton is like an antenna. That is a bioelectrical current of energy that is reaching not only for the earth but for the sky, for vitamin D in the ground and vitamin D in the sky. So we're constantly reaching for a food source through this, you could call a electrical nutrition of this current. So that was really interesting in that I had mastered alignment through dance, but could still overthrow it, right? With imperfect form. So that's why we always spend a lot of time in ballet class trying to get that antenna really aligned properly with gravity so that we're not in a state of having to really muscle through to the end of a piece of choreography, but to be able to be pretty free and fluid through it.
Where did you move from to New York?
New Jersey.
From New Jersey.
Not that far.
Okay. So you walked there? No, just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, just walked right over the bridge.
And where are you now, Tammy?
I'm on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and I'm very excited to say that I have developed from being a performing dancer, which continued well into, till about 50. I'm 55 now. And now I'm going into the corporate sector, really working with people's alignments at the computer because it is such a growing epidemic. I call it correcting the computer crunch. And I'm about to publish a book called The Art of Strength, Sculpt the Body, Train the Mind, which is really more for the gym goers and bringing this idea of alignment into your gym practice and your lifestyle. So I really love how I'm continuing to use everything I learned as a dancer as I go into, now I'm an ARP member.
What did you do, like, as a dancer? What did you do? Like, is it?
I started in North Jersey Ballet Company. I came to New York and worked on Broadway in both the Bus and Truck Tour and the Broadway production of A Chorus Line. I did other productions of Broadway shows, Pippin, Music Man, Brigadoon, spent some time dancing with Twyla Tharp, some Radio City Music Hall work, some music video work, some movie work. So I was kind of all around the industry of dance. And then after seminary, I went into Middle Eastern dance. And I went into the whole New York City downtown scene where you were not, it got me away from the relationship with the mirror that you have so much in ballet class and the traditional dance forms that are used in Broadway. Middle Eastern dance is much more intuitive, and it's about it's not so much the mirror, it's about the feel. And I wanted to go someplace where I was free of the judgment that was always between me and the girl in the mirror, and really just get as real as possible with movement. So I really loved that experience of performing in the Middle Eastern world, which was much more like lounges and clubs where you actually see the audience's faces and you interact with them, where in the theater, the spotlight, the lights are so bright that you can't see the audience. You're in your own bubble up there. And so it's a completely different experience.
I couldn't imagine like what that self-image must be like for you to be on stage and dancing and people always looking at your appearance. And then I'd imagine jobs and such. I mean, I've been to New York. We go every year, actually, and I love it, New York City. We did a Radio City music hall tour, and they talked about the Rockettes and how they had to be, or I think at one point it was height and weight and everything that goes on. And I couldn't imagine that, like the self-image, I don't know what the word is, not issues, but that you would have to deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah, they're constant.
So then you moved on to Taoism. I'm interested in this. I really like Eastern religions and norms and values. Tell me about how you got into Taoism and what a Taoist minister is.
Well, Tao means the way. So you could say that Taoism is following the way of nature. So we look at nature as the supreme intelligence as opposed to a man. So we look at the principles of nature as our guide in whatever we're doing, whether it's in a healing art, in alignment, in fortune telling and how we set up our apartments and how it, whatever we're doing, we look at the ways of nature. And this is, again, where the principles of yin and yang and the 5-element theory, and then there's this whole micro-macrocosm thing where we are a smaller version of the universe. So in our bodies, our dantian, our central energy center that's in our low abdominal region, is like the sun of our personal universe. So you can liken it to the sun in the universe and the planets cycling around the sun. So we always can think of movement as a circular activity. It's not linear. It's very circular.
And you know what? I know this is probably different. Like Buddhism, Zen, Taoism, is it all very different but similar in ways?
They're not very different. They're similar. But of course, Buddhism follows the word of Buddha, whom I would say followed the way of nature. So it's just once removed. Taoism is older.
Okay.
So being a Tao minister simply means that you are bringing these principles into your way of life. Maybe you're practicing traditional Tao practices. Like I have a private practice in some of the healing arts. Like my office has a massage table in it. I've also, as I've already said, brought Tao principles into my personal training. So when I'm working with clients in the gym, I'm also using that. In fact, my method is called BodyLogos, which means the body's divine intelligence or the body's divine wisdom. And it was the inception of BodyLogos was my thesis for ordination into the Tao ministry. So we have to do it. It's 4 years of schooling, a 5th year of writing, and submitting my thesis to a board. Not so different than getting a master's in a university.
So when you said a year of writing in that line.
So I had to the criteria of becoming a Tao minister is to become a minister in at least 4 of the pillars of Tao. So the 4 that I focused on was meditation, acupressure, or what we call tui na, which means to push and to grab, and it's a type of acupressure treatment, nutrition, and herbology. So I had to, through writing, prove this. So once I graduated from the school I was in here in New York, there was a foundation of Tao in California that to become a minister, I actually had to prove my knowledge from what I had gone through in the school here. So I did a lot of, writing and then the thesis on top of that to prove that I had the knowledge of these various pillars.
And do you use herbs on a regular basis yourself?
I do.
And how would you use it in your daily life? Use them, I should say.
Well, that's a constantly changing phenomenon depending on where I am, like depending on if I'm in a place, if I have a certain problem with the body, I'll be addressing that. If I'm in a place of wanting to cleanse or a place of wanting to build or, it's always going to be a different situation. But what I can say is it will always be a formula of herbs as opposed to a single herb, because we look at herbs as a form of medicine. There is a action that it causes, and for every action there's a reaction. So formulas actually consider that reaction that the body has. So to create a homeostasis, we put a formula of herbs together rather than what one might call folklore, where you use a single herb to treat a symptom.
So if someone says, I need a boost of energy, you don't say, well, here, have some reishi mushroom or whatever it is.
Hey, go ahead, put it in your food diet. It's not going to hurt. But to put it into just a single herb that you take, which is much more concentrated, I wouldn't generally do that.
Okay, and is everyone different? So you wouldn't say
everyone is different.
Yeah.
Everyone is different. Everybody's cosmology is different. So it's really looking at the individual. So, we do pulses, we look at tongues, we look at, coloring. There's all sorts of things we look at.
So if someone wanted to go to find out more about herbs or how herbs could improve their health, what kind of individual would they go to learn more about that?
Well, you could Google herbologists in your area.
Sometimes the show once a week or even twice a week just isn't enough. So if you want more content, if you want to know more about what we're doing at True Form Life, you can find us on Facebook. We're on there posting at least twice a day, in the morning and the evening. That's at facebook.com/trueformlife. Or on Instagram. That's kind of my favorite platform. I like to post my food pictures and some of the activities that I do, maybe hiking or whatever that may be. And that's just at Drew Tadia on Instagram, and then Twitter as well. That's at True Form Life. So we're highly active. We'd love to connect with you. So find us on your social media platform and let us know how you're enjoying our show. Okay, so that's what it'd be called. An herbologist would do that for you.
Herbologist, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Some nutritionists go in the direction of herbs, so you could also Google nutritionists /herbs/herbology. See what comes up. Okay. A lot of nutritionists are working with herbs too. And also sometimes acupuncturists work with herbs, so that's another source you could go to.
Tammy, tell me more about your book. I know we talked about the art of strength. You have a different type of mindset with tension and what we're doing today in gyms or probably studios now. What's your philosophy when it comes to releasing that tension and working in a slightly different manner?
Yeah. My approach to strength is literally transforming tension into strength. If you look at it like this, tension and strength are both the same root, energy. It's just that tension is static and strength is fluid. So you got to give tension a little nudge to become part of the workforce. So there is an element to connecting to your strength rather than your tension that requires a recognition of tension. And here's what I think the problem is that we have mistaken for a very long time tension for strength. So our efforts to become stronger often make us even more tense. And this is where you see burnout happening in the gyms. And my frustration right now with the fitness industry is it isn't helping they're not helping because of their hyper mentality. And, class names like burnout or HIIT even. I mean, it's aggressive in nature. Power yoga. Like they take something that's mindful and thoughtful and turn it into an aggressor. And strength isn't about domination. Strength is about connection. And so my belief is that we're growing out of the just do it mentality. I think people are recognizing that they don't have to suffer to be successful. And I think we're ready for a new belief to replace the no pain, no gain solution that's been, really sort of leading us in the gym and in life lately. And I think we're entering in a time that's more about no connection, no transformation. Like connection is what's becoming important. You're seeing it in people's attention to the workplace. You're seeing it in personal training being more popular in the gyms. I mean, people want to connect, and they realize that strength is in that connection. So
how can we become...
What I do... Say again?
How can we become more connected?
Well, so I started to say earlier that it's recognizing the difference between tension and strength, right? So what I do with BodyLogos is this. First, I recognize where certain emotions live in the body, and this helps you recognize the nature of your tension. So if you're feeling pain or discomfort somewhere, you can begin to feel into the origin of the emotional origin of this holding pattern, because emotions are in your body. your mind is what memorizes information and what reasons through theories, but your body is what comes into the world with instinct and intuition. Your body is what is sensitive enough to receive sensation, and it is also the storage bin for unresolved emotional conflict. So tension's root is in what is unresolved in that emotional makeup. Our soft tissues, our muscles, our organs, our bowels is where tension is stored, and it's very systematic where certain tensions are stored in the body. Then the second thing that I do with BodyLogos is I balance muscular contraction and release so that your skeletal alignment remains neutral when up against resistance, so that you don't disrupt that antenna that I referenced earlier. You always want to respect gravity because you'll never win in that competition. So you want your bones to stay really, really aligned with gravity. So strength is being able to connect with a resistance without compromising. Like the ability to meet resistance, influence an outcome without compromising yourself in the doing. So the result, here's the really cool part, is the result of a neutral skeleton is a state of what I call equipoise. And equipoise is a meditative state of stillness that rests between two opposing forces. So equipoise is that magical ingredient that brings what you gain in a seated meditative practice into your active life. So you can create the life you want rather than simply doing the best with what you get. So this is my goal, and I look at BodyLogos as a stepping stone that brings that calm from the calm of a meditative life into being up against resistance, whether it's in the gym or in your life, because physical or emotional resistance is a physical meeting. It's a physical meeting.
And so when you're working on these individuals, when someone comes in to see you, or you're looking at like a holistic approach, like everything about them as opposed to just, I imagine many people are like, I just want to lose weight.
Yeah, sure.
So when someone comes in to see you, what does that look like for you?
Well, when somebody comes in the door, some people are really interested in this mind-body approach and the whole process and understanding it. And others, like you say, have a very different mentality about it. They're not really interested in that. They just want a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. And so either way, I am going to look at them in exactly the same way. I'm going to look at their posture and look at what their posture does when up against resistance, and I'm going to understand who they are emotionally and physically. And I'm going to try to bring balance into that body so that their alignment starts to change. The person who wants to lose weight and look different is going to see great improvement just in that postural alteration. And of course, we can talk about diet and how exercise is a part of weight loss, but diet is prominently the subject of weight loss. So, we can talk about that, but I am always going to look at them the same. How much I communicate what I'm doing with them will depend on who's standing in front of me. You have to meet the person who's there. And that's what keeps it interesting because, it's like going from the dance studio to corporate America. Whoa, huge difference. Huge difference. You collaborate with the dance world, and you've got like very animated faces. When you've got their attention. In corporate America, they tend to be far more stoic. Their faces are not that descriptive of what's going on, and they'll ask informed questions, which means they're interested and they're paying attention, but I can't read their faces. And this has been a big, so I really depend on everything that I know about body language because reading the faces is not not doing it in this transition.
Okay, Tammy, before we wrap things up here, tell us more about your website, about your book that you have coming up, and anything else you want to share with our audience.
Well, I would love to offer your audience a free Surrender Tension in 8 Minutes video, and it's a sneak preview of the 15 videos that will accompany the book, because it's a book 3D video learning system. So it comes with 15 videos that have a 3D avatar in it, so you can see how alignment works and how energy moves through the body. And so if you go to my website, BodyLogos.com, BodyLogos.com, there'll be on the landing page a place where you can just put in your email, and you will gain access to this surrender tension video. So I would love to start getting the work of this learning system out there into the world and getting responses. I'd love feedback on it and see where people are going with it. So please take advantage of that. And I'm also, as I said, making this transition into correcting the computer crunch. And I'm doing this in corporate offices, but I'm also doing it online. So we can do an actual online session. And so that's another thing that people could contact me for. So they can go to the site and contact me through the email there, and we can talk about that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, we'll link these in the show notes. We'll put your link to your website, and people can find more details about what you're doing there. So, Tammy, thank you so much for coming on. That was a pleasure. I so much appreciate you sharing your time with us and expertise on this subject. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Exploring Mind and Body. As always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in and sticking around till the end. It's always a pleasure bringing on different guests from different backgrounds, and they have different beliefs. I think it's really cool that I have the opportunity to interview, and you also get a chance to listen as well, because everyone has a different mindset and everyone has different experiences from what they've found and what they've experienced. And I think this is a cool story here from Tammy, because she had the opportunity to be a dancer, and I couldn't imagine what it must be like to have that self-image of everything with how you perform and how you look. And like I said earlier in the show, it was really like your height and your weight. And I had the opportunity to train some fitness competitors as well. And it's really challenging for them after they get off stage, because they don't know what they should look like. They don't know what size they should be. They don't know what other people's perspective is, because that's not always how they look on stage. It's actually, I recently had this conversation. It's actually a very short time that they look like that on stage, and the rest of the time is bulking and then cutting. But I think as a dancer, it would be very similar. But moving from dancing to a Taoist minister, it's such an extreme. And I think, again, that we're directed in different areas in life, if you will, to help others understand our experiences and how to improve your health in different ways. So, again, I certainly appreciate Tammy coming on and sharing her expertise and experience with us. We have more details going up on exploringmindandbody.com. So if you ever miss a show, you can always go back and check out past shows there. We also have our monthly membership, which I want to tell you about here briefly. This is where we do meal planning, recipes, grocery shopping lists, at-home fitness routines, and more. So if you're struggling with what to prepare at home for dinner, that's something that we teach. If you're not sure how to read ingredients, we teach you how to read ingredients. So one of the best compliments we get is that that you can prepare easy to prepare meals that taste delicious. So that's certainly a compliment, and that's what we teach our members do as well. So then, of course, there's at-home workouts, no equipment required, 20 minutes or less. So this is just an opportunity for us to show you what we do within our monthly membership group. Exclusively for Exploring Mind and Body listeners, we offer the first month for $1, just so you can try it out and see what you think. We also have a free app that can be downloaded on any Apple device, so you can download the show and take you with it wherever you go. I'm going to leave you with that. Once again, thank you so much for being here. That's it. That's all I got. I'm out of here. As always, I'm your host, Drew Tadia. in health and fitness for a better world. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Exploring Mind and Body with Trueform Life's Drew Tadia, fitness expert. To find out more about the show, Drew Tadia, or to listen to past shows, visit exploringmindandbody.com.